Okay, folks, I'm Anthony with Signature Roofing, and for change of pace today, we are on the Pennsylvania side in Radnor Township in Wayne, PA. And you can see we have just started the tear-off process. I wanted to make this video very quickly because I had originally done the inspection for this roof when the home was being sold to the current homeowners. And when I came to speak to them about replacing the roof, I already had an Eagle View report with dimensions, so I knew what we needed as far as planning a project for materials. However, I definitely forgot that there was metal in the valleys. So when you have metal in the valleys like this, there's two ways you can do it. You know, we can layer metal in the valley just like that and still run our valleys the normal way so that the metal is not exposed. But also a lot of folks like that as an aesthetic to have the metal exposed. And actually on our last project, which was in Glendora last week, it'll be the job videos just prior to these, you know, we were required to do that. It was a line item, line 11 on the estimate from their insurer, required 28 linear feet, you know, 14 on each side of a dormer in a valley with metal. And we left it exposed just like it is in this fashion. So this is not an insurance roof. So because of that, you know, we didn't discuss putting metal in the valleys, in the plans. And that's my goof, because I was on the roof. I should have known better. So we'll simply just discuss it with the homeowners. And if they decide that I'm going to push them to, you know, we're going to put the metal in the valleys. That's not a decision because it's the better way to do it. But what they will have to decide is whether or not they want the metal exposed the way it's shown here, or if they simply want us to run metal in the valley and then run this lower plane up under the higher plane, and then the higher plane overlap it and, you know, use a chalk line to do a razor strike. In my opinion, that way is more bulletproof. But again, people like the aesthetic of the exposed metal. So it's a matter of preference. We'll leave it up to the homeowners. And the other thing that I want to show you is what we were concerned about with the boards, right? Really, the biggest problem with the boards is just simply the space between the joints. So if that space between these joints were excessive, in this county, it's, you know, beyond 1/8 of an inch, then we would be required to layer over this surface using 7/16 OSB plywood. But the good news to report is that on this front side, which is where we've started, you know, keep in mind there's only a 15-pound roof felt as underlayment. It's paper. You know, it's what we used at that time, but it's not bulletproof like the stuff that we put on today. I can see as they get down to the eave spaces, right? That's ice and water. So ice and water barrier at some point was applied on the eave spaces. We'll be putting ice and water in all of the eave spaces and all of the valley spaces today. So it's good. It has a layer. We're going to double that up. And so far, when we look at the roof deck, yeah, these joints are, you know, these boards are so tightly squeezed together that we don't have any issues with extended gaps. And so far, we don't have any big gashes or holes. And so far, there's no place on the roof on the roof deck on the front side that's so water rotted that it wouldn't be safe to work on it today. You know, these guys are going to be working, you know, on planks. This is not what we would consider a walkable surface. So, you know, if you combine a lot of water rot, it can become unsafe. You know, the deck can essentially give way from underneath you while you're working. So we don't see any concerns like that. Again, conversation with the homeowners as to whether or not the metal that we're going to put in the valley will be left exposed as it was, or if they want us to cover it up. And that'd be no additional cost to the homeowner because that's our mistake. It should have been discussed. I should have said, you know, there's metal on the roof. What do we do about that? Since I didn't bring it to their attention, we're just going to upgrade them and do it at no additional cost.